And I think there's a balance somewhere in between. You need to listen to the customer, but you also teach people how to enjoy the product.
Hey there, ALSD. Jared Frank here at ALSD International, here with a very familiar face on both sides of the Atlantic, Rich Krezwick. Welcome to our little interview green room here.
I love it.
I know it's a very busy morning. You're master of ceremonies for us, but you just completed a panel where you were moderating just a stellar cast. So I want to touch on that. Took a few notes, see if I can't stump you here with a few of these questions.
Perfect.
The first thing that jumps out at me, Rich, is you said right off the top that in the United States, it's more of a singular way of doing things, whereas here in Europe, many different cultures, many different ways of doing things. Can you give us a sense for the challenge that brings a company like yours in having to deal with the variety of cultures, the variety of ways of looking at a sports stadium and arena?
In sales training, they'll teach you about style flexing, right? When your customer goes like this, you go like this, And I learned a lot of that and needed to practice that in Europe, because when you go from Moscow to Sweden to Germany to Paris, you need to be 4 different people, and you need to style flex. The other thing is you need to listen because things are different in the different cultures, and you need to respect that. I'm thinking about hockey. I'm a hockey guy at heart, and the NHL, you go from building to building, and it's pretty similar. But if you go to a game for the Swedish Elite League, there might be a sit-down dinner in your suite before the game. And then if you go to a Swiss League game, our client Lausanne does this terrific food truck experience. That's their food experience. And then if you go to a German League game, the Ice Baron in Berlin, our team there, it's completely different. It's more of an NHL American style in the suite or in the stands at the concession, very American style. So it's all hockey, but it's 4 different ways of doing hockey, and that's what I learned. I think I'm a better manager for it. I think I'm a better listener for it, and I had a terrific experience in Europe.
You mentioned the food and beverage component, and you mentioned a great variety of styles of presenting that service. Are you seeing a breaking away from the formal dining setup that we've come to know here in Europe?
Yeah, we are, and I had a terrific mentor in Boston when I started there. Harry Sinden was longtime coach, GM, president of the club, and he once said something to me. He's, because I'm talking about research and we have to find out what Bruins fans want, and he said, no, we need to teach them what Bruins hockey is. And there's a different way of looking at it, and I think there's a balance somewhere in between. You need to listen to the customer, but you also teach people how to enjoy the product. So an architect once said in a charrette, just a quiet guy sitting in the corner of the room, said one thing for 6 hours. He said, why do you guys insist on putting 4 walls around people all the time? 4 walls around the suite, 4 walls around the club, 4 walls around, why do you put people? That's not what they want. They want a wedding. They want an atmosphere. They want to be social. So sometimes you need to teach people, or at least introduce them to how it might be better. So a sit-down meal in a suite requires sit-down furniture. It requires a dining room table. That's not conducive for enjoying a hockey game once the hockey game starts. So everything is affected. The furniture affects the atmosphere in the room. So if you want to have a meal, then maybe it should be a stand-up table. Or do you really need a meal? Now that catering is so good out of chafing dishes, why can't it just be the nibbles and the bites that is American culture today? Why can't that be the atmosphere? So we started introducing it, and people love it.
And generally speaking, whether it's the US or the UK or all throughout Europe, how should sports and entertainment venues think about their real estate, where to put premium product, where not to put premium product, just a general sense of the real estate of a facility, how should they view that?
Labeling it as real estate is absolutely right, because it is about square footage or square meters, here in Europe. You need to figure out what the greatest return you can get out of that square footage. So if you put this chair in this 1 square meter, you might be able to charge $50 for this chair. But if you take 10 of these and get rid of the chairs and put in a leather bench with USB underneath and service that comes to you regularly and a private entrance, that $50 per meter becomes $250 per meter. So that's one example. Another example is Steve mentioned from the O2 that we had bathrooms in the best real estate in the building. There was a cinder block wall between the bathroom and the artist's great view. We took the bathrooms, moved them over here, took down the cinder block wall, now we have a great view. That real estate went from 0 production as a bathroom to thousands and thousands in production, for the bottom line over the course of a year. So thinking about it like real estate is important. The best real estate is lakefront and Main Street. We have to find more waterfront real estate.
Are there other takeaways from the panel, from any of the participants, that really stood out to you this morning?
I liked what Peter McKenna said. We like talking about technology, and we like talking about innovation, and we like talking about new ideas, but let's not forget about the basics. Nothing replaces the smile and the hello and warm service. It's like a good bartender. We all frequent the places that has a good bartender and makes you feel comfortable. That's what Cheers was all about, running for years on that concept. It was the comfort of that Cheers bar. That's what we look to achieve in our Encore program, and we do worldwide training out of Los Angeles for all of our employees that falls under the brand of Encore. And it's about providing that comfort so that people are much more likely to return as they would to your favorite bar.
And Rich, we also heard from Peter Van de Veer, who offered some great perspectives from his experience in continental Europe. Can you expand upon some of the things that he had to offer?
They run a terrific operation. We're very close with those guys. I like them a lot. They're nice people. And at the Ahoy, they do some great business, and it's varied business. It's not all US based, top-notch, sell-out entertainment. They do a lot of different things. So Peter's comment was more on flexibility and remaining flexible from night to night. He talked about his tennis tournament and how they had to bring in a 5-star Michelin chef because that's what tennis commanded. But a couple weeks later, they were doing e-gaming, and they had to make sure they had enough chicken fingers, because the e-gamers eat a lot of chicken fingers. So it's also about flexibility, and any good arena manager knows that you need to be flexible. You need to be able to make the call, call the audible when there's an issue, and a lot of being a good event manager is about being flexible. So I thought he made some great points too.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
Completely agree. I could probably keep you in that seat all afternoon, Rich, but we don't have the time to do so. We have to get out there and conduct some more sessions. So why don't we leave it there for today?
Great. Thank you. Look
Be well,
forward to
Rich.
it.
Thank you.